All right, what's up, Dragon Brood? It looks like today is the last day of previews, so it's day 9, 10, 10 of Strixhaven previews, and we should see the final commons and uncommons tomorrow when the whole gallery goes live. But yeah, we're just gonna get into it because there's a lot of cards to talk about today. So we're gonna start with Killian's Confidence. It's a white and a black for a sorcery. Target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Draw a card. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you may pay either black or white mana. If you do, return this card from your graveyard to your hand. Well, isn't this fun? Alright, so you get a +1/+1 and get to draw a card. And then if your creatures deal damage, you could pay a white or a black, return it to your hand, and get to do it all over again. Now, it's not the type of card you're generally going to play a lot of because it's something that needs some setup, and then you got to connect, and then you got to have mana open to get it back in your hand, and it doesn't immediately generate value. So it's kind of one of those things. But I will say, if there's a weird world where you could splash some black, maybe you're playing the red-white deck that wants to remove stuff from the graveyard, and then you could just splash black for like this card, maybe? That could be kind of fun, right? And then you're just getting this back every turn, pumping up something, drawing a card, getting your spirits from having cards leave your graveyard or whatever the case is. So like, there's probably some corner cases for a card like this. Yeah, and because there's so many cards, I'm going to skip some of the comments. However, we may do a wrap-up video tomorrow, so we'll try to make sure all the important things are covered. But continuing on, here's another rare. Stirring Hopesinger. 2 and a white for a 1/3 bird bard. It has flying and lifelink and repartee. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets a creature, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Wow, that's pretty strong. Doesn't matter if it's your creature or their creature, just as it targets a creature. You get to put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Man, you could play a defensive card and then your team gets a boost. So, like, you could do some double combat tricks like this. Man, 3 mana for a 1/3 is like, meh. But it does have flying. It does have lifelink. And this ability is actually pretty good. So, man, it's also a bird, so the bird deck's looking for a little bit of extra help. But then, granted, several of the bird decks don't play that many instants and sorceries that are targeting things, so there's that. But yeah, this could be pretty good. This is a fun card. I don't know if it's going to get played, but this is some sweet art that probably makes for a great background on somebody's phone. Scheming Silvertongue, 1 and a black for a 1/3 vampire warlock. It has flying and lifelink. At the beginning of your second main phase, if you gained 2 or more life this turn, this creature becomes prepared. And then you can Sign in Blood, which is 2 black mana. Target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. That's fun. So the 2 life you just gained, you could give it up for 2 cards. You know, I'm kind of here for it. It's an interesting thing that it's a vampire warlock as the ability, or as the creature types. So it's not a fairy or anything like that, so it doesn't automatically fit into a couple of other decks. But I kind of dig it. Being able to Sign in Blood every turn. I mean, we got the enchantment yesterday that lets you just do that anyway, but it's 5 mana to do it the first time. This has to be at least somewhat playable. And it does have lifelink, so there is that. Informed Inkwright, 1 and a white for a 2/2 human wizard with vigilance. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets a creature, create a 1/1 white and black inkling creature token with flying. Not as good as putting +1/+1 on everything, but also getting just a 1/1. If you have, I think the thing about the repartee decks is if you have 3-ish things on them, even just 2, but if you have 3 where they're all triggering, you're going to start making some overwhelming odds that could be very powerful, right? But I think it's going to be hard to measure these kind of on their own merit because it's largely what does the rest of the deck look like. However, if you are playing a deck full of instants that will target things, this is one of the 2/2s worth considering. Nita, Forum Conciliator, 1 white black for a 2/3 human advisor. Whenever you cast a spell you don't own, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. You can pay 2, sacrifice another creature, exile target instant or sorcery card from an opponent's graveyard. You may cast it this turn, and mana of any type may be spent to cast that spell. If that spell would be put into the graveyard, exile it instead. Activate only as a sorcery. I can't get behind this. Like, I want it to be good, but here's the thing. Getting to play your opponent's spells is fine, But if they're playing spells that don't necessarily greatly benefit your deck, it's not that exciting. You also have to have another creature to sacrifice and 2 mana. And then even after you do all that, you still have to have mana open to cast whatever the spell is the opponent has in their yard. Now, where there'll be corner case things where your opponent has like a road, which is just 1 white mana, and you can use it, like, yeah, sure, right? If they have 1 and 2 mana things, I guess, but you're also giving up a creature to be able to do the thing, so you have one less creature you can even put counters on. I don't know. This sounds good in theory, but I don't think this is the type of card that's going to end up getting played. Vicious Rivalry, 2 black, green, sorcery. As an additional cost to cast this spell, pay X life. Destroy all artifacts and creatures with mana value X or less. I knew there was going to be more sweepers in the set, but like the fact that we're getting multiple sweepers every single set, I think I'm gonna do a video soon just showing all the different ways to remove groups of creatures because there's just so many. But yeah, this is fine. It's playable. I mean, it's 4 mana, so there is that. It does get rid of artifacts though, and not just creatures, so that's kind of nice. I think the issue sometimes will just be if you haven't done much prior to that, and your opponent's been attacking every turn, and let's say you give up 3 life or 4 life to just get rid of everything, are you already down to like 6 or 5, right? Like, how do you feel about that? You're still alive, right? You're not. That's not 0. I think this will end up being able to get played, but probably in some pretty specific decks. Another fun thing about this, though, is you could be playing some black-green, life drain, whatever type deck, and then you don't really care, right? You're just like, pay, wipe the board. I still have more action incoming, or maybe I have stuff coming out of the graveyard. So, yeah, this is probably okay. Fix What's Broken. 2 white-black for his sorcery. As an additional cost to cast this spell, pay X life. That's funny. 4 mana, pay X life. Return target artifact and creature card with mana value X from your... So these are just like the opposite cards, right? So 4 mana, you pay some amount of life, and you return each artifact and creature card with mana value X from your graveyard to the battlefield. Okay. I mean, this is good. No lie. I mean, the fact that you could pay like 3 and return possibly 3, 4, 5 creatures, like, that's pretty strong. Yeah, I don't hate this at all. Like, self-mill stuff works. This is potentially another way you could play Raise the Pass, because now it doesn't have to be all your small creatures. You could get everything back. So, like, I don't know. This is kind of cool. Emeritus of Truce, 1 white white for a cat cleric that's a 3/3. When this creature enters, target player creates a 1/1 white and black inkling creature token with flying. Then if an opponent controls more creatures than you, this creature becomes prepared. And you can pay 1 white and Swords of Plowshares. Exile target creature, its controller gains life equal to its power. This is good. I mean, it's a 3 mana, 3/3. You get a 1/1, and you have access to Swords of Plowshares. So technically, you could wait till you have 4 mana, and then just play it. You end up triggering, get your 1/1. You could sword something, and that's a good swing. I don't know how often this is actually going to be prepared for a second time. So this is just 4 mana, get 4/4 worth of creatures, and exile an opponent's creature. Right? Like, that seems good. We would play that for 4 mana. Almost doesn't matter what the rest of the text is. So, like, yeah, I'm down for it. Snooping Page, 1 white black for a 2/3 human cleric. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell that targets a creature, this creature can't be blocked this turn. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card and lose 1 life. Okay, it's fine. I mean, can it get played? Sure. I mean, I don't know. It just feels okay. It's, again, if you're playing exactly the repartee deck, then like maybe it's a thing, but probably not. Tragedy Feaster, 2 black black for a 7/6. All right, this has to have a downside since it's only 4 mana. It's a demon with trample. It has ward of discard a card. Infusion. At the beginning of your end step, sacrifice a permanent unless you gained life this turn. Wow, so 4 mana 7/6 that they have to discard something to target it. It does have trample, but you don't really care about this is actually solid because there's so many ways to make tokens that you're just okay sacrificing, right? Or if you're playing the black-green deck that makes pest or whatever, that you sacrifice one and drain your opponent, you kind of want to sacrifice your stuff. So, yeah, this is probably fine. I don't have an issue with this one. Gaining the life would be the weird trick, but like you just don't need to in some cases. Cauldron of Essence, 1 black green for an artifact. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses a life, you gain 1 life. You can pay 1 black white, or black green. I don't know why I said white. Sacrifice a creature, return target creature card from the graveyard to the battlefield, activate only as a sorcery. Wowza. So we just get to sacrifice the thing, get something from our yard every turn? Yeah, this thing's pretty good, y'all. This is pretty good. Even if it doesn't get played a lot in standard, this is a really good commander card, right? Unless your opponents exile your graveyard, you're going to get your best thing in the grave that you just had in play ever, right? You can just get back every turn. And the creature doesn't come back with any conditions. It doesn't lose its ability. It doesn't have finality counter. It's literally just your creature back. That's cool. Yeah, this card's pretty strong. Vastland Scavenger, 1 green for a 4/4. Wow, 3 mana 4/4. Death Touch. This creature enters prepared. It is Bind to Life, which is 4 and a green. It's an instant. Mill 7 cards and put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield. You know what? 3 mana 4/4 with Death Touch? Yeah, sure, why not? And then a turn or two later, we're just like, yeah, let's just mill some stuff and get a creature. Not just that, you get to do the mill at instant speed, which is great. So, yeah, this card definitely could see some amount of play. A 3 mana 4/4, anytime you get those stats, the 2 mana 3/3s, the 3 mana 4/4s, you always kind of have to at least see what it is. And when there's no drawbacks and it's all upside, it at least has to be worth considering. Black Loafing Pest. 1 green black for a 3/4. It's obviously a pest. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on each pest, bat, insect, snake, and spider you control. Alright, yeah, this card's fine. Just as is. 3 mana 3/4. Anytime you're gaining life, assuming you're playing in a deck where you can gain life, minimum this is going to get bigger every turn, but there are lots of bats we already play, and there's plenty of spiders you can play, and there's pest in this set, so yeah, this could be alright. Dissection Practice. A single black mana for an instant. Target opponent loses 1 life, you gain 1 life. Then up to 1 target creature gets +1/+1 to end of turn. Up to 1 target creature gets -1/-1 to end of turn. This is a surprisingly strong combat trick, right? Because it's drain your opponent for 1, and effectively, if you're talking about 2 creatures blocking each other, you're giving something +2/+2, basically, right? One's going up 1, one's going down 1. I think this is actually a reasonable card. You could also play this as just like a spot removal, right? Give something -1/-1 on turn 1. You drain your opponent for a life. I could, like, the problem right now is we still have like Requiting Hex and all this other stuff, but this isn't a bad card. This has a weird translation for a name, so I'm gonna assume this is not accurate. But 1 and a green for an enchantment. Whenever you gain life, put a growth counter on this enchantment. As long as there are 5 or more growth counters on this enchantment, creatures you control get +3/+3. Yeah, if you're doing the pest thing where you're like sacrificing creatures to gain life and whatnot, this is the right card you'd want to play in that style of deck. So wouldn't be surprised if this is one of those cards that in the deck that wants it, it kind of really wants it, but everything else doesn't want it. So it'll be good in 1 or 2 decks, but that's probably it. Harsh Annotation, 1 and a white, instant, destroy target creature. Its controller creates a 1/1 white and black Inkling creature token with flying. This is fine. We're probably not going to be playing it in 60 card, but for limited, I would absolutely play this card every single time. Eternal Student, 3 and a black for a 4/2 zombie warlock. Pay 1 and a black to exile this card from your graveyard. Create 2 1/1 white and black Inkling creature tokens with flying. Again, I think this is solid for limited. We're just not in the market often for a 4 mana 4/2, even if it does, from the yard later on, give you 2 more 1/1s. But, I'd like to be wrong on this type of card. Stirring Honormancer. 2 black white and your choice of an additional Orzhov mana. So that makes it a 5 mana 4/5 Rhino Bard. When this creature enters, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of creatures you control. Put one of those cards into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. Nah, I mean 5 mana 4/5. If I have, say, 3 creatures, I look at the top 3 to put one into our hand. It does say one of those cards and not one of those creatures. But 5 mana is just... it's just too much to spend on something like this, I think. Scolding Administrator, black and a white. So 2 mana for a 2/2 Dwarf Cleric with Menace. Repartee, whenever you play an instant or sorcery spell that targets a creature, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. When this creature dies, if it had counters on it, put those counters up to one other target creature. It's okay. I think this is good enough to be played, though. It's a 2 mana 2/2 with Menace, and you're going to occasionally be putting counter... If you're playing it, you're playing stuff that's going to allow you to put counters on it, obviously. And then if it dies, you get to move the counters. So, like, yeah, this is a solid little 2/2. Good uncommon. Dina's Guidance. 1 black-green for an instant. Search your library for a creature card, reveal it, put it in your hand or graveyard, then shuffle. Yeah, this is solid. Instant speed tutor that goes and gets any creature and can put it in your hand or graveyard. I dig this. There's a lot of times playing against control decks where you just like leave mana up to maybe do something during their end step, or like they sweep the board and you're like, great, I'm gonna go get this big guy that's hard for you to deal with or whatever. Cast it next turn. So like I could see that. This is a very quirky card, but it's a type of card that could stay at least mid-rangey valuable for a long time because there's a lot of commander decks that'll want this. Postmortem Professor, 1 and a black for a 2/2 zombie warlock. This creature can't block. When this creature attacks, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. You can pay 1 and a black, exile an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard, return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Well, it's a zombie, so there's a few things that care about zombies. It's Warlock, which is a popular creature type in this set, it seems. Draining your opponent for 1 kind of makes up for not being able to block, and it just keeps coming back. It's an interesting card. I think my hesitation is trying to think of what type of deck wants this card. I feel like we need a few more cards later throughout the year to come out, maybe, that care about zombies or whatever to make this more playable. Germination Practicum. 3 green. So a 5 mana sorcery that's a lesson. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. And then has Paradigm that you exile it, and after you resolve it, then you can play it at the beginning of each of your first main phases. Yeah, this card's pretty solid. I think we're back to this category again where even if it's not strong in standard, this is just a commander card that people will want for so long. Like any +1/+1 counter deck obviously loves this, where you're just getting to fuel your deck every single turn for almost no effort. 5 mana is nothing. Like, yeah, this card will have value for a long time. Pox Plague. 5 black mana, so black, sorcery. Each player loses half their life, then discards half the cards in their hand, then sacrifices half the permanents they of control. Round down each time. Sure, why not? Somebody will find a way to do something silly with this card. We've had different versions of Pox or Plagues of whatever, right, that get rid of multiple permanents in various ways. So this is cool. I don't know how you're going to play this. I'm not going to say it's good, but there will be at least one deck with it, I'm pretty sure, because it's a type of card, the people that like going into the lab and coming out with weird decks, they like these types of cards. All right, we got through another day of previews. That was quite a lot of cards. I'm curious, though, what are y'all's feelings on these Paradigm things? Because now we've seen one for each of the different colors, and they're all pretty powerful. Like, are y'all looking to play them? Are you afraid to play against them? Like, how do you feel about just a free effect every turn? I don't know. But what other cards so far have you seen that have you really excited to build around? Because there's quite a few, and man, we're going to have a lot of stuff to build single card strategies around from this set. But that's all I have you for now. We'll see you next time.